This webcast talks about how to use the Balance app that's available on the Curriculum Guide page in PowerSchool. If you go to the Curriculum Guide page, you'll see the Balance app here on the right-hand side. All you'll need to do is click this blue link, and it will open up a spreadsheet that looks like this. You'll see that this spreadsheet, it has a long list of items here. First, it goes through academic classes, and then clubs, and then student government, performing arts, sports, and finally there's a category called Other. So the purpose of this app is to help you visualize the time commitments that you are making for next school year based on the number of AP and honors classes that you choose, the clubs, the sports, performing arts, and other kinds of activities. Okay, so this app has 3 tabs at the bottom of the page, and I want to start with the app on the right-hand side called My Time. This has a pie chart that gives you a breakdown of the number of hours that you have in a week. All of us only have 24 hours in every day, and there are certain things that are just required. For example, this green category, you must be in school from 8 o'clock to 3:10, 5 days a week. That adds up to more than 38 hours. Standard classes expect a certain amount of homework and time to study for quizzes and tests. That adds up to almost 16 hours per week. You need a little time for family and eating meals, a little time for relaxation. You need to sleep. So what this means is that there's only about 37 hours of each week that you have available to use for other activities. For example, honors and AP classes, they require more reading and they have a higher workload. So they're going to add to this almost 16 hours per week of homework and study compared to standard classes. Every club and sport and things like that that you choose to do, the time that you spend on those will come out of this 37 hours per week. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the tab on the far left called User Form. So I click there, and I'm going to start going through this list and putting a Y in next to each activity or class that I plan to participate in next year. So I'm going to pretend that I will be a 10th grader next year. So let's say that I plan to take Honors Algebra 2, Honors Chemistry, and AP World History. Here we go. Okay, so I have 2 honors and 1 AP class. So I'm going to go down. Notice if you will be a junior or senior, that there's also a place to check for the college application process. I mean, we need to account for that time because it takes so much time to apply to your schools. Also, there's a place for Global Scholars. Oh, and I'm thinking that sounds really interesting. I would like to get involved in that next year. Okay, so I'm going to choose Global Scholars for 10th graders. And I can go now and look at my graph of time commitments. That's the middle tab at the bottom. And I can see that over and above the study commitments for a regular set of classes, it looks like that most weeks I'm going to need to put in an additional about 5 hours in order to meet the requirements of my honors and AP classes. Here in the spring, there's another little bump. That's for Global Scholars. Okay, so that just is my time commitments for my classes. I still have a lot of time that I can use to be involved in sports or clubs or other things that I choose. This red line here is the point of overcommitment. That's at a point of 37 hours per week. That represents the time that's available to me after I've done all of these other things, like school, sleeping enough, spending time with my family, doing the homework for my standard classes. And so I still have quite a bit of time available. Okay, so I'm going to go into clubs. Perhaps the A-level club, or the Sun club that I want to be involved in, is mock trial. So I'm going to choose that. And my Moon club is the Black Student Alliance. And my Star club is maybe the Imagine Engineering Club. Okay, so I've now put in my Sun, Moon, and Star clubs. Perhaps I'm not going to be involved in student government. If I were, I'd choose all of the appropriate things here under student government. Then I get to performing arts, which would be like dance, any of the productions, like the fall musical or the spring, one acts, things like that. And then I get into sports. And let's say that I intend to be on the riflery team. So I'm going to put a Y next to riflery. Okay. After sports, there's another category called other. And the purpose of this is to allow you to account for time that you will be spending every week in activities that are not in the above list of Harpeth Hall activities. Perhaps you dance at a private studio or at another school. You could account for the hours that you spend on that here. Perhaps you have a part-time job, or perhaps you have a long commute that adds a lot of time to your drive back and forth to school every day. So you might want to account for those hours here. Let's see, perhaps I'm planning to work 5 hours per week. So I'm going to put a Y in the 5 hour per week category. Okay, so I've chosen everything that I plan to do. Here is my graph of time commitments, and it is really filled up now. And I can see that I'm fairly busy in the first semester, and here's the second semester. It's showing me week by week through the school year, and there are 5 weeks when my time commitment exceeds that recommended limit of 37 hours per week. So I need to think about, I'm going to be pretty stressed over these couple of weeks where my time on those extracurricular activities is going to be more than 37 hours per week. So something will have to give in these couple of weeks here in the middle of fall semester. So if I'm going to do everything that I'm signing up to do, I'm going to have to find ways to save time. Perhaps I'll sleep less. Perhaps I won't have any relaxation time those weeks, where I just don't have any planned activities. Perhaps I'll try to do homework while I eat dinner. I may have less time with my family. And so at this point, it's time for you to make a decision. You need to think, will I be able to handle the stress of having these, 2 or 3 week periods where I am using every waking hour of every day, and where I'll have to make some of those trade-offs. If you think, well, in order to do all the things that I really want to do, I'm willing to do that, then perhaps a couple of weeks of having that stress is something you can handle. And if that's the case, that's fine. Or you might think, gosh, I'm just not sure I'll be happy being this scheduled, where a big part of every week is dedicated to activities that I have to do. So then you could go back to the user form and you could make some changes. Maybe I don't really need that part-time job, so I'll take the part-time job out. Now I still have 2 weeks where I've scheduled more activities than I have hours, and so I'll think, well, can I really do that? Maybe I think for 2 weeks out of the year. There's 1 week in the fall, 1 week in the spring. I'm going to say I can probably handle that. And also I'm noticing that I have at least about 5 hours a week that's not especially scheduled. And so I'm feeling like this is a good level of activity for me. Well, then I think I've found my level of activities.